Welcome to another segment of Types and Figures. Today's subject is the nation of Egypt. Well, there are hundreds of references to Egypt throughout the Bible, and our interest in this program is to look at the spiritual meaning of Egypt. And as we read about Egypt, we find that it's normally a picture of the world, or the kingdom of Satan, with Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, as a type of Satan, and the Egyptians being figures of the unsaved. But there's a particular characteristic which God assigns to Egypt, and he mentions it frequently in the Old Testament. And we're going to turn to Exodus 20, where the Ten Commandments are being recorded. Let's turn to Exodus 20, verse 2. There we read, "I am Jehovah thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage." Now, Egypt is associated with bondage and with being a slave. The Israelites were in captivity in Egypt, and they were referred to as bondmen. And there were several other verses, but we're going to read just one more, which is in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 12. Deuteronomy 6, verse 12 reads, "Then beware lest thou forget Jehovah, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage." Again and again, Egypt is identified as the house of bondage. And remember historically that wicked Pharaoh refused to let the Israelites go out of Egypt. In his stubborn rebellion, he would not hearken to the commandment of God to let the Israelites go. Pharaoh very aptly is a picture of Satan, since Satan also held captive the elect people of God, which had been chosen to salvation from the foundation of the world. These elect were in their sins out in the world and under the wrath of God, and therefore they were held captive by their own iniquity. They were serving sin, and as a result, they were serving Satan in his kingdom of darkness in that house of bondage until the word of God came and delivered them from sin. And that's why Jesus said, "If the Son therefore shall make you free, ye shall be free indeed." The deliverance from Egypt was a picture of the salvation of God's elect, spiritual Israel, a deliverance from sin and Satan and the kingdom of darkness. You've been listening to Types and Figures, Egypt, here on eBible Fellowship.